thank you for joining us. I'm Joy,
And I'm Laura.
and this is The Witches of Letters, a supernatural rewatch podcast.
Buckle up as we dive into season 2, episode 6, No Exit.
Okay, this is my most watched episode. Easily, this is
Ever.
my most watched ever. This is the one, out of all of them, this is the one that I watch the most. On
Cool.
repeat. All the time, constantly. Okay? I said to Laura before we started recording that I'm gonna have to try so hard to not just read the whole episode because I am obsessed with it. I have a problem with it. There's a soup song, like a little bite-sized piece right at the end that just doesn't exist in my headcanon. So that's gonna be entertaining when we get right to the end of the episode, and I'm like, no, that's not real. That doesn't exist to me. That'll be fun for all of us. But this whole episode, the horror is so good. The show lore is very much in our face in a fun way in this episode. I did feel like I needed to wash my brain out with soap and tequila after I did research, I will say.
H.H Holmes research.
Bleh.
Yeah.
I really didn't like it. I've said this before. I'm not really a true crime aficionado. That's not really my wheelhouse. It's Laura's and Carly's and a whole bunch of my best friends. But it's just not my own personal cup of tea. As much as I enjoy uncovering, for me, I think it's my hyperfixation of the show and how does what they've put in the show fit with what's real out in the world, or things that match up with it, because I like figuring out Kripke's thought patterns and then what he's established in the show and how it all comes together. That is so cool for me. I feel like Sherlock Holmes. But actually, the true crime stuff, I'm just the world is such a dark place. And this is not restoring my faith in humanity, and that's my vibe about it all. And I did this one, and I think maybe also the one before. There have been a few dark ones. The Benders was really, really, really dark. But this one just, I feel like it takes the cake, and I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I say that the top 3 darkest from season 1 and season 2 so far, and I don't think we're going to top them, are the Benders, the real family, the Basilica axe murder connection, because that's dark, and then H.H. Holmes in this episode.
Yeah. I was going to say, are there any other episodes where they base it the monster on a real person? Because they've done folklore-y things like the Wendigo, but this is an actual real life serial killer, isn't it?
Yeah. I think he is. Now, again, there's 15 seasons. I could be wrong about this. That's a lot of material. But I don't remember there being another real serial killer that gets dropped in. And I feel like Holmes gets dropped in because he's the first serial killer that's reported, and they invented the title of serial killer for him to describe him. So it makes sense that in a show that addresses monsters of all these different varieties that they would want to do that. And I also sort of felt like this was you know how Tarantino did Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, because he wanted to save Sharon Tate. That's what he wishes would have happened. And it's kind of beautiful. I love it. Yeah, I love it when writers rewrite stuff in that way, where it's this is my fantasy about how this should have gone down. I sort of feel like Holmes was such a horrific monster that it makes sense that he would be in the lineup of monsters that the Winchesters would take down. And I think this was kind of their Once Upon a Time in Hollywood episode, where all these victims, but particularly women, were horrifically and tragically killed by this dude. And I mean, I could be wrong about particularly women, because I looked into the stuff and there are a lot of female victims, but I don't know if the female victims outweigh the male ones. I believe that they do. But anyway, the brutality against women was real, because he also beat his first wife. There's on record so much domestic violence. He's just
That tracks. Yeah.
I feel like they wanted to take him down. I feel like they wanted to make him suffer. And they wanted to exert some kind of fictional justice, the same way that happens in that Tarantino movie. So That's what I feel like this episode is, and it's so satisfying because he's so horrific.
Yeah. For me, I thought this episode it was kind of reminded me of Skin a little bit, but in a
Yeah,
without all the horrible bits. It had
yeah,
different horrible bits, but,
different ones, yeah.
um, like the sewer and the killer being in the walls and that kind of thing,
Yeah.
but just without the psycho shape-shifting Dean part. Because we don't want that
Yeah,
again. Um,
never.
I also love that we had a whole episode with Joe, and apparently so I have a little bit of a fun fact because apparently this came about because of circumstance again. You know how, um, at the end of season 1, I said that the whole thing about John being the one that was kidnapped and Sam and Dean having to go and rescue him was because he of his scheduling
Oh,
conflicts
yeah,
with
yeah,
Grey's
yeah,
Anatomy.
yeah, yeah,
Um, this was the same because Padalecki had broken his hand, he couldn't do they gave him, like, a rest. This is what it says on IMDb. It says, "Jared Padalecki is noticeably absent from most of the action in this episode. His schedule
yeah.
was
Mhm.
cleared to allow him more time to fully recover from a broken hand injury that he had occurred a few episodes back." So the fact that they brought Joe in so that Dean had someone to, like
Yeah, to be the Sam of the episode.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I loved that. So it kind of was, circumstance that they did that for, but I'm glad they did.
So if you guys are on our Instagram page, which I feel like most of you are, you're gonna have seen some of my outtake reels. And there's 2 that I've posted recently that are actually from this episode. So there's the one where Jared backs out of the scene and Ackles just dies. Like, they're mid-scene, and there's a door open that's not necessarily supposed to be open for the shot, and Padalecki just kinda looks around and then just slyly, like, backs out of the scene and just leaves Jensen on his own, and then Jensen literally loses it. You can hear the director loses it. Everybody's dying laughing. And then there's another one where, um, they're going down into the hole, right? Because 'Cause they're going down into this hole to save Joe in this scene,
Yeah.
but the director and the crew when as soon as Jared goes down with his cast on, dumps 2 buckets of cold water on him, and he's going, "Son of a bitch, son of a bitch."
I didn't recognize that that was from this episode, but I can see it now.
Yeah. Yeah, right? So and then somebody in the comments pointed out that you're not supposed to get a cast wet, and somebody else who'd also had behind the scenes information chimed in and said that, he actually had to get it redone, and that it was
Oh.
Kim Manners who, like, orchestrated the prank, but then he had to go afterwards and, like, get it all get it out
Uh-oh.
because it got wet. I was like, "Oh, no, yeah, that's true, you're not really supposed to get a cat wet." And I thought that
Oh, they
was
didn't think
so
about
funny.
that.
No, this is what I love because you guys come and talk to us and tell us things, and then we get more behind the scenes information, and then, like, we all get to learn and, like, laugh about it,
Yeah,
and that's awesome.
I do like that. I like how we're getting, like, comments and things on Instagram now, and it's I feel part of the community now.
Yeah. Aw, that's so cute. We've made
For the
her part
SPN
of the
family.
SDN fandom. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That gives me life. I love that. I love that so much. Do you want to give us the synopsis, Laura?
Yes. So this is season 2, episode 6, No Exit. The original air date for this episode was November 2nd, 2006. Joe has been tracking a series of disappearances in Philadelphia and wants to go on a hunt to find out what's happening. Her mum says no and gives the case to Sam and Dean instead. When they get there, Joe turns up after lying to her mum about where she was going and teams up with them. After another girl goes missing, they realise the building was built on top of an area used for hangings by the prison next door. One of the prisoners executed there was serial killer H.H. Holmes, and now his spirit is using this apartment block as another murder castle. While Dean and Joe are trying to find the girls he's already taken, Joe also gets captured. Sam and Dean realise he must be keeping his victims in the sewer system underneath the building and break in. They rescue Joe and engineer a way to trap Holmes' spirit down there forever. After the hunt, Ellen is really upset with them all and tells Joe that John Winchester was with her dad on his final fatal hunt and is the reason her dad died.
Doesn't exist isn't real.
That really doesn't exist in Joe. In Joy's head.
No, no. So here's the thing. If you want to watch this episode, how it exists in my head canon, what you need to do is you need to stop it right after Dean says to Ellen that Joe did a good job and her dad would be proud of her. That's where the episode ends. Because then it's a fucking serotonin dopamine feast where all
Yeah.
you've just done is you've watched Dean Winchester be an overprotective book boyfriend for 40 odd minutes. Okay. And it gives me the most happiness of anything ever. Like, this is my favorite episode of TV, period. Period. No one needs to know how many times I've seen this episode. I would like to request a sound effect that every time I say book boyfriend, we get a ding or something because it's going to be a lot. I'm just
A
giving you a
book
heads up. It's going to
boyfriend.
be a lot. Like, if you want to play a game, get a snack, get a drink of your choosing. Okay. Alcoholic, non-alcoholic, that's your choice. And then every time I say book boyfriend, that's got to be the game because it's going to happen. All right. It's going to happen.
Okay. Note to editing Laura, if you can be bothered, do that.
Oh my day. The way I am treated on this podcast. This is why I was talking to SPN Verse on Instagram, and I was like, are Laura and I, like, do we hit like the chaos levels of Jensen and Jared? And they were like, every day. Every day you do.
Is that when we had our bloopers episode out, wasn't it?
Yeah, we had the bloopers episode, and I was like, are we on their level? And SPN Verse was like, yes. Yes, you are. Okay. Laura, do you wanna tell us what the opening scene is after that betrayal? Like, I'll just get this knife out of my back. You can tell us what the opening scene is like.
So we've got a woman in an apartment who's getting annoyed with someone on the phone, which was presumably her landlord. The lights are flickering, and there's rank goo dripping on her. That's what I feel in my nose. and then and then she hears creepy sounds coming from the vents and checks it out, and then there's more gross goo seeping out of a light switch.
Note that her landlord only houses attractive young blondes. Okay.
Yeah.
That just continue.
And then she's staring at the switch, and then an eye appears, and that was a jump scare. And then she screams a blood-curdling scream. That eye wasn't very nice. I didn't like that.
So there's actually details here.
What do you mean? My rank goo dripping on her isn't enough detail for you, Joey?
With the eyeball, I'd written down, I bet Laura loved that. The thing is, it's like the eyeball is coming through this like ornate grate situation in the building. Like these ventilation vents look like they were put in the 1800s, all right, which is part of the atmosphere of the episode, which is great. But the eyeball, like, is just suddenly there. There's a sudden jump cut to the eye,
Yeah.
and it's a proper jump scare.
It is.
But then she screams, and then it cuts back to the eye, and this person's like fucking the evil serial killer dude. His eyeball dilates like a cat. You know when a cat is
Ew.
about to attack? The
Yeah.
pupil gets huge. And that's exactly what happens in this scene. And it's so gross and creepy and predatory. And then what they did was then they put the title sequence in. So it's a jump scare. Because you know how there's the bang as we jump into the title cards every episode?
Yeah.
They use that as another jump scare on top of the other jump scare. Okay, and honestly, my hat was off at this point. Because this episode, we're barely into it, and already there's been like 6 jump scares.
Yeah, it's good. I do also love this episode, by the way. I can't remember if I said that earlier.
It is one of the best episodes ever. And I will fight people. I will die on that hill. That is a hill that I'm willing to die on.
In this next scene, they had a really good joke. So
Yep.
Sam and Dean are outside the roadhouse, and they're packing up the car. And Dean is saying that they're going to LA to investigate a young girl who's been kidnapped by an evil cult. And Sam says, "How's the girl got a name?" And Dean says, "Katie Holmes." And I appreciated that because that is a Scientology joke. But we are not going to say any more about that because they sue everyone.
moving swiftly along. It was hilarious, okay? It was amazing. Um, and Sam goes, "That's funny for you and so bitchy." And that made me laugh.
Yeah.
And then they hear an argument happening inside the roadhouse, and Dean goes, "On the other hand, cat fight." And they go in to investigate, and I just wrote eye roll after that line.
Yeah. That's a bit weird to describe a mother-daughter argument as a cat fight, but yeah.
It was just, meh. So they go into the roadhouse, and Ellen and Joe are fully shouting at each other, and Sam and Dean walk in like they're gonna try to defuse a bomb, which is
Yeah.
very funny. So basically, the context of the argument is that Joe wants to hunt, but Ellen doesn't want her dying like her dad died. She doesn't outright say it, it's just really implied in this argument.
Yeah.
And then they're having this fight, and Joe notices that Sam and Dean have walked in. And and so Ellen turns around and basically tells them to fuck off. Like, she doesn't actually say it in those words, but she basically says, like, "This is a bad time."
Yeah.
And Sam just says, "Yes, ma'am." And Dean says, yeah, we really drink before 10 anyway." And then Joe says, "Wait, I wanna know what they think about this." And I was like, the expression on Dean's face, because he looks at her like, "Don't do this to me because I love you, but I'm also scared of your mom, and, also any human feelings," right?
Yeah.
Because he he totally loves Joe, but he definitely is, like, trying to dodge that, and the whole dynamic of it is so funny. And then this mom and dad and kids walk in, and they're obviously tourists. They're wearing, like, touring Nebraska t-shirts.
Yeah.
Um, and in the middle of this argument, so Ellen's screaming, "I don't care what they think." And the dad's like, "Are you guys open?" And Joe screams, "No." And Ellen screams, "Yes." And the dad goes, "We'll just check out the Arby's down the road." And then they leave, which is fair. So then she goes off, Ellen answers the phone. Um, and Joe gives a breakdown of the case to the guys. She says, "3 weeks ago, a young girl disappears from a Philadelphia apartment." And then she shoves the file towards Dean. And Dean's like trying to dodge this because he wants to, but also doesn't want to.
Yeah.
Um, and then he ends up snatching the folder with the same look that every dude ever has when he knows he's about to make his life more difficult, but there's also a super hot person that he wants to get with on the other side of said difficulty. Like, it's that exact expression. And throughout this whole speech, Dean is like, his face is saying that he doesn't want to be impressed, but he is impressed. It's great. It's so great. So she says, "Take it, it won't bite." And Dean says, "No, but your mom might."
He's really scared of Ellen.
It's great. I mean, it just shows that he's actually smart. Like, I know we make these jokes about him being a himbo all the time, but he's actually quite smart. And that's further proof of it, because everyone should be scared of Ellen. Ellen's so dangerous. So she gives him this look that's like, "Are you really afraid of my mom?" But it's also like, "I respect you because you're smart enough to be afraid of my mom." It's like a mixture of both of those things. And then Joe continues, "And this girl wasn't the first. Over the past 80 years, 6 women have vanished, all from the same building, all young blondes. Only happens every decade or so, or two. So cops never eyeball the pattern. So we're either dealing with one very old serial killer, or," and Dean interrupts and he says, "Who put this together, Ash?" And she says, "I did it myself." And you could tell he's impressed, but again, he's trying to downplay it. And Sam in the
Yeah.
background is like, "I gotta admit, we hit the road for a lot less." And Ellen interrupts and she says, "Good, you like the case so much, you take it." And Joe's like, "Mom!" And Ellen goes, "Joanna Beth, this family has lost enough, and I won't lose you too. I just won't." And that's how we like know that it's about her trauma.
Mhm.
Um,
I said it's also how we know she's in trouble because you only ever get middle named when you're in trouble.
yep, yep, yep. Um, so it is so good. I love it so much.
I wrote that, I get her overprotectiveness as she lost her husband and she doesn't wanna lose her daughter too, but I also understand Jo, as hunting is clearly in her blood and she wants the adventure.
She's built for it. She was
Yeah.
born for it.
Yeah. So, actually, I have a question. when Ellen answered the phone earlier, she says, "Yeah, preacher." And I was just going to ask, is that another character that we have yet to meet?
I think so. I don't really remember,
Okay,
but I
I'll have to
think
keep an
so.
eye out, ear out for someone called Preacher.
Yeah.
So in the next scene, Sam and Dean are driving to Philadelphia, and I've got a tiny little music Easter egg or fun fact here. Because on IMDb it says the song playing as they travel from the Roadhouse to Philly is "Surrender" by Cheap Trick, a band who made their home on the 900 block of Pine Street in Philadelphia during the 1970s before they made it big. And I just felt I really appreciate how every little thing on the show has been thought about.
Mm, yeah, I love it. It makes it so cool. That's awesome. I didn't end up writing out the lyrics, but the lyrics also felt like they were really going along with what was happening in the scene again,
Yeah,
and that was really awesome because I was like, I knew my Easter egg was gonna be a pretty fat Easter egg.
yeah.
So, I was like, "Well, I won't have time for this," but the lyrics definitely hit all those plot points.
So they arrive at the apartment building of the missing girl, and Sam says he's feeling bad for taking Joe's case. And then Dean
Mhm.
makes some sort of comment about, can you see her hunting? And I just write, why not, Dean? What, because she's a girl? Can girls not be hunters?
Which we know that isn't why he's thinking it later, but
Yeah.
in the moment, what I wrote down was eye roll. Bitch, she disarmed you and made you temporarily blind. Like, the first time that he ever met Joe, she takes her gun back and then smashes him in the face so
Punches
hard that he
him.
goes,
Yeah.
"I can't see. I can't see. I can't even see." So, like, this is where we start getting overprotective book boy fronting because he is really, really into Joe, and his way of expressing his love for people is to want to protect them, isn't it? Like, we all know this. Look at him with Sam. So we see a lot of that in this episode, and it's great. But yeah, this scene is so funny.
So they're checking the apartment using the EMF detector, and Sam notices the goo. And Dean says that it's ectoplasm. And at that point, I was like, who are you going to call? and then
Ghostbusters.
and then Dean makes a Ghostbuster joke because he says, well, Sam, I think I know what we're dealing with here. It's the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. and I was like, oh, we
I
both made
love
a
it.
Ghostbusters joke.
It's so good. It's so, so good.
um, and Sam looks at him just as if to say, can you be serious for like 2 seconds, please?
Yeah, he totally does. It's amazing. I love that face.
Oh, he also says something about only majorly pissed off spirits make ectoplasm, apparently.
Yeah, no, that was so funny too. So, like, only the angriest, most powerful ghost can make ghost goo. And then all I could think about is like the Marshmallow Man and Slimer because it's so hard to take either of them seriously. And that kind of made it a little bit comedic. Um, but yeah, so they exit the apartment and they walk down the hallway and they hear voices and they come around the corner and Dean's frowning because he realizes really fast that who he's overhearing is Joe. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yay! So Joe's talking to the landlord, and the landlord's pitching her the apartment. And she's talking about she finds it really spacious, and her friend told her about it, and she just really likes it here. And then Dean steps out and says, "What the hell are you doing here?" The boyfriend starting now. Okay. So Joe says, "There you are, honey." Then she grabs Dean around the waist. "This is my boyfriend Dean and his buddy Sam." And the landlord's just like, "Oh yeah, good to meet you. Quite a gal you've got here." And then Dean smacks her from behind. Like, but this way is not like flirting. It's like, you know how you're annoyed at someone and you kick them under the table.
Yeah.
This is what all of this is. And he says, "Oh yeah, she's a pistol." And he's like saying this through gritted teeth because he's just like, "What are you doing?" Um, so Joe says, "So did you check out that apartment, the one for rent?" And he says, "Yeah, yeah, loved it. Great flow." But he says great flow like you were in so much trouble. Sam's face, it cuts to Sam in the back. Sam's face is like,
Yeah.
"Oh no."
I know. I wrote
Um,
I wrote that Sam has a very worried face and he's doing some more eyebrow acting, as
yeah,
Joy calls it.
yeah, he is. Because the back and forth keeps going, like, they keep, like, hitting each other, like, they're kicking each other under the table, and this entire time at the back, Sam is like, "Number 1, my big brother has it bad." Like, I feel like that's one thing that's happening, and then the other thing is that he's scared of Joe and Ellen, and Dean is just literally spending this entire time poking the fucking bear. He's, like, grabbing her, smacking her. I feel like Sam is literally scared for Dean's life right now, and that is one of the best parts. It is great.
I
It's
thought the
great.
whole exchange was hilarious.
It's amazing. I've watched it so many times. This is one of my favorite parts of this episode. I rewind it. Today I rewound it like 3 times. It's gold. So, and then the landlord said, "How did you get in?" Because obviously he didn't let Dean in the apartment.
No.
And Dean just goes, "It was open." So Joe comes through to distract him and says, "Now, Ed, when did the last tenant move out?" And he says it was about a month ago. And Joe's like, "Oh, great. Well, her loss, our gang, because if Dino loves it's good enough for me."
Dino.
And he says, "Oh, sweetie." And then he smacks her again. And Joe pulls out this wad of cash and just says, "We'll take it." And then we cut to the inside of the apartment. And Dean and Joe are having this back and forth. And Joe just goes, "I'll flip you for the sofa." And Dean's like, "Does your mother even know you're here?" She says, "I told her I was going to Vegas." And Dean says, "You think she's going to buy that?" And Joe goes, "I'm not an idiot. I got asked to lay a credit card trail all the way to the casinos." And Dean goes, "You shouldn't lie to your mom. You shouldn't be here either." And she's like, "Well, I am. So untwist your boxers and deal with it." And I was dead. Okay? I was laughing so hard. If I'd been drinking water, there would have been a spit take. Because she basically just told him that his panties were in a bunch. And it was amazing. And Sam says, "So where'd you get all that money from anyways?" And she's like, "Working at the Roadhouse." And Dean accuses her. His face is like, "Hunters don't tip that well." And then she says, "Well, they aren't that good at poker either." And Dean looks like quietly impressed in the corner.
Yeah.
It's so good.
I like that she obviously, like, just can beat all of these, like, hunter men at the games, because in the last episode, she was beating them at, like, a shooting game.
She's a female Dean. She's literally just hustling all of
Yeah.
them. And the other thing that made me laugh so hard in this scene is we also see Sam's face in the background again because you see Dean wanting to tell her off, but then he knows that Sam is right behind him, and his face is like, "I wanna say something, but Sam will call me out."
Yeah.
And it's just like the banter of this scene is on a whole 'nother level. It's
It's really funny.
so, so, so good.
I
Um,
also liked that how she's wearing a plaid shirt because she's got the hunter uniform on.
yeah. Yeah, it's
She has to
great.
have that on. Yeah.
You have to, it's the law. It's the law of the lore. So, basically, the argument with all the finger pointing is my favorite thing in this universe. So, Dean's cell rings and he answers it, and Dean goes, "Yeah." And Ellen's voice comes through and it says, "Is she with you?" And Dean goes, "Oh, hi, Ellen." And Ellen says she left a note. She's in Vegas. I don't believe it for a second. He holds the phone back to Joe and he goes, "I'm telling her." And then they have this furious, silent, back and forth argument. And it's amazing. And then Ellen's voice goes, "Dean?" And then Dean goes, "I haven't seen her." He says, "Sorry." Ellen says, "You sure about that?" And Dean goes, "Yeah, I'm sure." "Well, please, if she shows up, you'll drag her butt right back here, won't you?" And he says, "Absolutely." And then she says, "Okay, thanks, honey." And he hangs up the phone. And Joe smiles because she knows she's won. And like, Dean's face is just everything because you can tell that he wants her there, but he doesn't want her there. Also, he's very scared of Ellen, and he just lied to Ellen's face about the
Uh-oh.
whereabouts of her precious daughter.
Yeah.
Uh-oh,
Uh-oh.
uh-oh. It's so good.
Joe's
It's so
smile
good.
was really cute as well, like how she smiles at him.
Yeah, it's amazing. She's just like, oh, so, so good. So then we cut to a little bit later on, and Dean is pacing back and forth, and Joe's doing some very cool knife tricks. So, like, her habit is knife tricks with this small-ish, but not too small, kind of like buck knife. In respect to her, because what the move that she's doing is a knife flick that you learn so that you can really quickly reposition your knife for like attack or defense. That's what she's doing. And that's cool as fuck. That's final girl material. She looks badass this entire time. So she gives them the lowdown on the apartment. She says that it was built in 1924 and it was originally a warehouse, but then it was converted into apartments a few months ago. And Dean says, "Yeah, what was here before 1924?" And she says, "Nothing, empty field." And Sam chimes in and says, "So the most likely scenario, somebody died bloody in the building and now he's back and raising hell." And Joe says, "I already checked. In the past 82 years, 0 violent deaths, unless you count a janitor who slipped on a wet floor." And then to Dean, who is behind her, she's not even looking at him, but she just knows. She says, "Will you sit down, please?" And then Dean immediately sits, and I just put in my notes, "Good boy."
Sit.
Yeah, yeah. And then he asks if she's checked the police reports or the county death records, and she says obituaries, mortuary reports, and 7 other sources. I know what I'm doing. And he says, "I think the jury's still out on that one. Could you put the knife down?" And then she does. And I was like, this is sass, but it's so funny. Like, he asks her to do it, but it's like there's like a gulp. Like, there's like, he's so nervous. And Sam is like, "Well, this is awkward." So anytime Sam says, "Okay, so," it's always because he is so uncomfortable in a social situation. And Sam goes, "Okay, so it's something else then, maybe some kind of cursed object that brought a spirit in with it."
He thinks everything is a cursed object. I swear,
Sam
he's said that so many times.
loves he loves a cursed object, okay? He loves a cursed object. I think it's because he was so traumatized by that one haunted fucking painting and the
Oh,
doll
yeah.
that now he's like, "It could be a cursed object. We better check for that."
And the clown in the clown episode, he talks about, "Oh, maybe it's a cursed
Cursed
object."
object. Yeah. He brings it up a lot. He had a hard time with that doll and that evil little girl, you know?
See, because he's me, he doesn't like dolls or clowns.
Exactly. He is you. So Joe says that they're probably gonna need to scan the whole building. And Dean says, "Right. So you and me will take the top 2 floors." And she says, "We'd move faster if we split up." And Dean's like, "Oh, this isn't negotiable." And I was like, "Book boyfriend, book boyfriend." Because he is staring deep into her eyes, full overprotective book boyfriend mode. And I can't. It's so hot. Okay, it's so, so hot.
So Dean and Joe are investigating a corridor with EMF detectors. And Joe says, "So, are you going to buy me dinner?" And Dean's like, "What are you talking about?" And Joe's like, "It's just if you're going to ride me this close, it's only decent you buy me dinner." And I thought that was hilarious, and I love her.
And then Dean literally says, "Oh, that's hilarious." And then this next line, he says, "It's bad enough I lied to your mom, but if you think I'm letting you out of my sight."
Ooh.
Guys, the tension, the romance, the overprotectiveness, the Dean Winchester with all of those things. I can't, my little heart can't take it. It's so good.
And then doesn't he say something about, I don't know if you noticed, but you're the spirit's type.
Yes. Okay. That's literally the next thing that I wrote down. And then underneath it, I wrote down, "Eee," and then I wrote, "And yours clearly, Dino."
Dino. Um, and he says that, and she's like, "Well, exactly, because she wants to be bait to draw the spirit out quicker."
This is the best part too, is because Dean's outraged by that. He's literally like, "No." And it's so funny because of how that episode actually ends up panning out in the end.
Yeah.
But she's so ballsy and she's like, it is the quickest way and you know it. And Dean goes, "I'm so regretting this." And Joe goes, "I've had it up to here with your crap." And Dean goes, "Excuse me? Your chauvinist crap. You think women can't do the job." And Dean says, "Sweetheart, this ain't gender studies. Women can do the job fine. Amateurs can't. You have no experience. What you have is a bunch of half-baked romantic notions that some barflies put in your head." And
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, he's obviously trying to protect her. And then I drew a whole
Yeah.
bunch of hearts because he's making it super clear that there's no sexism. He doesn't give a fuck that she's a female. That's not the issue. We all know that the real issue is that he likes her and he wants her to be safe because we also know, again, she made him temporarily blind. Like,
Yeah.
Joe, Joe is such a badass. Like, oh, I love it.
I think he is just saying, like, chauvinistic stuff as a front. Doesn't actually mean it. And also, but I did have an issue when he said amateurs can't, because I was like, well, how do amateurs get experience, Dean, if you don't let them try?
Yeah, yeah. It's true. I think that he's scared that she's gonna wanna go off on her own and do stuff without anybody who is experienced backing her up, and I also
Yeah.
think that he doesn't want her to do any of this dangerous stuff because also he loves her.
And he's still
And he
scared of
wants
Ellen. And if she
and
gets
he's
hurt.
still scared of Ellen. Yeah. Because Ellen's like Boudica, and she would, like, tie him to different cars and then have them drive in different directions until he was cornered. That would be an Ellen move. Um,
That's a
so
nice visual there.
yeah, it's accurate, it's accurate. So Joe says, "Now you sound like my mother," and he says, "Oh, and that's a bad thing because let me tell you." And Joe says, "What?" And Dean goes, "Forget it." And she says, "No, you started this." And then this part's really this is where I back up my whole argument that it has nothing to do with anything else other than he wants her to be safe and happy because he cares about her. Because he says, "Joe, you've got options. No one in their right mind chooses this life. My dad started me in this when I was so young. I wish I could do something else." And then Joe says, "You love the job." And Dean says, "Yeah, but I'm a little twisted." And Joe says, "You don't think I'm a little twisted too?" And I wrote down, "Oh, this is so hot. Thirst traps are everywhere. The floor is lava."
The floor is lava.
So Dean says, "Joe, you've got a mother that worries about you, who wants something more for you. Those are good things. You don't throw things like that away. Might be hard to find later." And that was so fucking significant because
Yeah.
we all know what Mary meant to Dean and he lost her. And I realized that he understands that her mom is her Sam. They're all each other has, right? And Dean does not want her to lose that because he knows Joe's temperament and that she would get into an argument with her mom, lie to her mom, go out and keep doing this behind her back and wreck their relationship potentially through no fault of her own or Ellen's. But like he can see that happening and he doesn't want that for her. And it's just so honestly sweet and thoughtful and caring. And like this is where we know that he's not being a dick about wanting to protect her. Like he doesn't think that she's
No.
helpless. That's not in his mind at all. It's not that he thinks that she needs him to save her or like stand up in front of her like a human shield. That's not in his mind. What he's thinking about is he doesn't want her to lose her closest relationship. Like that's the main driving point. And I just thought that was everything, and it's so cool.
Yeah, he is genuinely looking out for her. So then we get the point of view from the vent, and then we're watching them walk down the hall, and then these disgusting fingers poke out of the vent, and I was like, "Eh, that's so horrible."
They're
Um,
genuinely so gross, it put me off my food.
yeah. Jo notices something. Maybe she's seen the movement out of the corner of her eye, and she swings around really quickly to look, but they've disappeared. And then Dean comes over and says he could smell something, and he says that he knows what it is, but he can't put his finger on it. And we later find out that this is chloroform, and I'm like,
Chloroform.
why does he know what that
Why do
smells
you
like?
know?
And I put a little side eye emoji.
Psycho killer. Kiss kissing.
I was like, why?
Yeah.
Why do you know what that is?
Yeah. Honestly, every single time. Because of that one scene in Heroes where Siler's driving and it plays Psycho Killer, every time Dean says something like that that makes us question him, Psycho Killer starts playing in my head. Um, But yeah, so once again, also, because he decides that there's something in the vent and he's got to stick his arm in there. And I was like, once again,
Oh,
Dean sticks his hands in dark places with like full on demon grossness. Doesn't
yeah.
look, just puts his whole arm in, just
I
his
was like, what
whole
are you
entire
doing?
arm. It's not okay. I had a full-on Gollum tantrum, like, "We hates it." It's awful, and this is my least favorite horror trope. Like, this one gets me like the eyes get Laura. People just putting hands
Yeah.
inside dark holes. Ugh.
It was like
No.
the garbage disposal
Why?
on Home, wasn't it, again?
Oh my god, yeah, exactly. Just why? And then he pulls out a full piece of someone's fucking scalp.
Yeah.
Like, the long blonde hair attached to the bloody scalp.
I know, it's disgusting.
And then Dean says somebody's keeping souvenirs. And
Ugh.
again, I was like, "Psycho killer, qu'est-ce que c'est?" He just he's so casual. He's so casually
Yeah.
cracks his jokes about it while holding a severed piece of a girl's head. I can't with him.
That is
I love him,
disgusting.
but I cannot. Yeah.
I can watch some gnarly stuff and eat at the same time, but this would have put me off my dinner if I'd been eating it.
Yeah, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. It was too much.
So then we cut to another apartment and a blonde woman is coming home. She opens her post, an ectoplasm falls on it. Whoop. And then her lights start flickering like in the opening scene. And then cracks start appearing on her ceiling and walls, which was actually really creepy.
Oh, yeah.
She tries calling someone on the phone, but there's just static. And she goes to leave and the door is locked. And I'm like, why? Why is the door now locked? That's a bit weird.
Hmm.
And then the creepy rank hands grab her and she screams.
Can I just say the disgusting dead guy arms reach through the
Ugh.
grate? Like, we had the teaser before where the fingers came through the grate. This time, it's full arms, like the
It's
grudge
horrible.
style. Grab her by the ankles and then yank her through. And it's so fast. And I wrote down 10 out of 10 scary. It
Yeah.
was disgusting. The jump scare was jump scary. There's no delayed screaming in this episode. Okay, everyone in this episode is a great screamer. Like, it's horrifying. Okay, it's actually horrifying. Okay. So Dean wakes up on a lazy boy chair in such an Ehlers-Danlos position. And I wrote, no wonder Ackles ages like fine wine. Because I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome and I don't age. Okay, ask anybody. Ask Laura right now. I don't age. Um, but also my joints are too flexible and I get in really weird positions. And I wrote down, like, I understand why Nick looks at me the way he looks at me sometimes. And he goes, nope, stop it. That's not a real thing. Because I'll be like in some fucking weird position, but to me, it doesn't seem weird. And then he's just like, oh, what are you doing? Stop it immediately. Because Jensen Ackles in this scene, it just doesn't look like he should still be alive. Like, it looks like he's resurrecting himself from the lazy boy. It's not right. And then he gets up and he looks over at Joe, who we assume has slept on the nice, comfy bed, which is what Dean thinks. And she just looks at him and says, morning, princess,
I love that bit.
which is great. And then also starts that whole meme because in the SPN fandom, the whole Princess Dean thing is a very real thing. And I
Ah.
just realized rewatching this episode that Joe is the first one to call him Princess Dean. So this is the best. This is just the best. So Dean says, where's Sam? And she says, went to get coffee. And Dean goes, oh, my back. How'd you sleep on that big soft bed? And Joe says, I didn't. I've just been going over everything. And he looks at her and he's watching her flick this knife still. And then he goes, and he does this to the tone of like trying to be charming and impressive, right? He pulls out this huge bag, all right? And it has so many knives. And he pulls out a Bowie knife, unstraps it from the sheath, and then hands it to her hilt first. And he goes, here. And she goes, what's this for? And Dean says, well, it'll work a hell of a lot better than that little pick sticker you're twirling around. And Joe takes the knife and then hands him hers. And he studies it and he sees that it's engraved and it says WAH. And he looks up at Joe and he starts to get it. And she says, William Anthony Harvell. And he goes, I'm sorry, my mistake. And his
Yeah.
face is a lot of different things. And he just gets her. They just
Mhm.
get each other. And it's
Yeah.
just this really beautiful silent exchange. And then Joe says, what do you what do you remember about your dad? I mean, what's the first thing that pops into your head? And then he shakes his head like he's not going to answer her, but she says, "Come on, tell me." And we know if this was anyone else, he would just walk away. But it's Joe. So he actually answers her. And he says, "I was 6 or 7 and he took me shooting for the first time, bottles on a fence, that kind of thing. I bullseyed every one of them. He gave me this smile like, I don't know." And again, John Winchester is in so much trouble because he didn't even say that he was proud of him. Like Dean can't even get the words out of his mouth. Joe obviously knows. She fills in the next sentence and says he must have been proud. And Dean has this like expression on his face, and we know that John never said it out loud. He just smiled. Like, John. So Dean says, "What about your dad?" And Joe says, "I was still in pigtails when my dad died, but I remember him coming home from a hunt. He'd burst through that door like Steve McQueen or something, and he'd sweep me up in his arms, and I'd breathe in that old leather jacket of his." And at this point, I'm thinking one of the reasons why she's so attracted to Dean is because he gets that. There, like, he's obsessed with Steve McQueen. He wears the leather jacket. He gets the dad stuff. Like, they just understand each other. Um,
Yeah.
and she says, and my mom, who was sour and pissed from the minute he left, she started smiling again, and we were a family. You want to know why I want to do the job for him? It's my way of being close to him. Now tell me what's wrong with that. And Dean just looks at her really deeply in the eyes and then says nothing. And then Sam bursts in. And Dave's like, "Where's the coffee?" And I was like, "Where are your manners?" Sam says, "There are cops outside. Another girl disappeared."
So then we cut to later, and Dean comes in with the deets about the girl who went missing. She's called Teresa.
Dean with the deets.
And he says there were cracks all over the walls and ectoplasm, and they're trying to work out how the killer seems to be in the walls. And Joe points out an old photo of the empty plot where the building was. And she points out that the building next door used to be a prison because there's bars on the windows.
Hmm. There's also a really funny line right after that where she's on the phone and she says, "Thanks, Ash. And if you breathe a word of this to my mom, that's right, I will with pliers." And then she hangs up. And I was like, Joe's psycho and Dean's psycho are the same psycho. They like match each other perfectly, and it throws me.
Yeah. They seem to use Ash, even when he's not in it, just as a, "Oh, this is how we're getting information," because Ash has looked it up.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love it. I love it. So then they drop all this information. Like this is the lore drop basically. So she says, "Okay, um, this word is so hard to say. Pray for me. Moyam Mensing prison." I don't know. I did my best.
Yeah, I think it is that
Built,
Moya Mensing. I think that's right.
yeah, cool. She says it was built in 1835, torn down in 1963. And get this, they used to execute people by hanging them in the empty field next door. And so Sam says they need a list, and Joe says that Ash is already on it. And then we cut to later, and Sam is looking down this super long list of names on the laptop. Um,
Mhm.
and it's kind of a thirst trap. Like Sam's being smart again, and
Yeah.
he will continue to be smart. And
Research
Laura's
Sam
going to be like,
is back.
"Yes." Yeah, research Sam is here.
Yeah. Although it was very convenient that out of 157 names, he just managed to focus on the one that was important.
Well, okay. My defense of this is that he was going to law school. I
Yeah.
assumed he was going to do criminal law because look at his family background. So I feel like knowing who the most famous serial killer is,
Yeah, but
I can allow that.
knowing his real name and spotting it out of just scrolling through a load of names.
Well, I don't know because I feel like Carly and my other true crime fan friends would maybe pick up on that. So I feel like it's maybe allowable. I don't know. It
But
it,
this
it
is
is.
it's another thing. You know how I keep saying Sam must be a true crime fan because of various things? There's
Yes.
another
Yes.
tick in that box.
Yeah, it's another tick in the box. We need to make a meme about this, about Sam being a true crime junkie, because he clearly is. Okay, so he says Herman Webster Mudgett and clicks on it because he goes, Herman Webster Mudgett, just back and forth to himself. And Joe goes, yeah. And then Sam says, wasn't that H.H. Holmes' real name? And Dean goes, you've got to be kidding me. And then, yep, Holmes was executed at Moyam MC in May of 1896. That word, I hate that word. So Sam says, H.H. Holmes himself, come on, I mean, what are the odds? It's hanging the lantern, people.
Yeah.
Right there for you to excuse all the red flags.
I like how Joe's just like, "Who's that?" So then they have to give her a crash course, like H.H. Holmes 101.
Yep, yep, yep. So they do. They proceed to drop the lore, and it goes like this. Dean says the term multi murderer, they coined it to describe Holmes. He was America's first serial killer before anybody knew what a serial killer was. And Sam says, yeah, he confessed to 27 murders, but some put the death toll at over 100. Dean says, and his victim favor of choice, pretty petite blondes. He used to chloroform them to kill them. And then he takes a beat, and then he says, which is what I smelled in the hallway last night. At his place, cops found human remains, bone fragments, and long locks of bloody blonde hair, which he says to Joe. And then he says, boy, you sure know how to pick them. And she says, well, we just find the bones, salt them, and burn them, right? And Sam says, well, it's not that easy. His body is buried in town, but it's encased in a couple of tons of concrete. And Joe goes, what? Why? And Dean says the story goes that he didn't want anybody mutilating his corpse because, that's what he used to do.
The
And
audacity of that.
the audacity. That is the most caucasity and audacity
Yeah.
of anything ever. It's wild.
Look.
And Sam goes, something? We might have an even bigger problem than that. And Joe says, how does this get bigger? And Sam says, Holmes built an apartment building in Chicago. He called it the Murder Castle. The whole place was a death factory. They had trapdoors, acid vats, quicklime pits. He built these secret chambers inside the walls. He'd locked his victims and keep them alive for days. Some he'd suffocate, other he'd let starve to death. And Joe says, so Teresa could still be alive. She could be inside these walls. Dean says, we need sledgehammers, crowbars. We've got to smash these walls anywhere thick enough to hide a girl. And then it cuts to the next scene. But guys, before we move on, I have to say that in my research, yes, they got a lot of this information right. There is a Wikipedia article that I've linked below that I think has a very level-headed view of what's correct and what's not correct, because there's also a lot of mythos. And Holmes was not only the first serial killer, but he was the first serial killer to get famous and get a book deal off of this. He invented, because he was also a con artist, he invented the brand, if you will, of the serial killer book deal,
Yeah.
pumping themselves up, saying that they did things that they didn't do. So he admitted to a whole bunch of murders of people who were still fucking alive as well. It doesn't take away from the terror or the horror of him, because he still killed a shit ton of people, even when you take away his fake brags.
Yeah.
But he bragged to this guy who was writing a biopic about him. But
Ugh.
basically everything is right. There's apparently some people who have stated, or sources, historic sources have stated that the murder castle thing was an exaggeration that was created by the media circus surrounding him at the time, so that there are a couple of things that were just invented and added to the mythos, but most of it's accurate.
Yeah. I had a little fun fact in this scene because during the scene, they're flipping through pictures of things, and there's a victim picture, and I recognised it, but I don't know a whole lot about H.H. Holmes myself because it's all a bit too much for me. Um,
Yeah.
so I was like, why do I recognise one of those pictures? But then I found when I was looking on IMDb later, I found this, which says the photograph of the victim H.H. Holmes was said to have murdered was actually a photograph of Jack the Ripper's victim, Elizabeth Stride, in 1888.
That's why she looks
Yeah,
familiar.
that's why, because
Okay,
I know a
this is
lot
an
about Jack the
Easter
Ripper.
egg.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is an Easter egg inside an Easter egg then. Because the article that I found that I'm going to read to you guys when we get to the right point, there's a suggestion that Holmes wasn't ever actually executed when we think that he was, and that he was still potentially out there, which is the same thing that happens with Jack the Ripper. So
Yeah.
that's lore within lore, Easter egg within Easter egg.
Because
And
I couldn't work out if it was a mistake or if they'd put it in there on purpose.
I think they put it in there on purpose, knowing Crypt Key.
Yeah. Maybe
All the
they're
different
like, maybe
layers.
they think H.H. Holmes was Jack the Ripper.
Ooh.
um,
Um,
I also had a note for the end of the scene saying Dean has a Hulk moment, saying they need to smash the walls down. Hulk smash.
He has a couple of Hulk moments in this episode, and they thrill me the most.
Yeah.
Also, I wrote down there's photos of the dead women with the actual piece of scalp and hair on the table, and I wrote down, "Ew,
Yeah.
unhygienic."
Ew. Ew.
Yeah, it was just too much. It was just too
Mhm.
much. Okay, this next scene, I'm obsessed with. Alright, I'm obsessed with it. So, Dane and Joe are squeezing through crawl spaces inside the building's walls, and Joe is on the phone, and Joe's talking to Sam, and she says, "Okay, call us after you check the southeast wall." And she hangs up and says, "Sam's almost done with the first floor, hasn't found Jack Squat either." And Dean stops. "What is it?" And Dean goes, "It's too narrow, can't go any further." And Joe says, "Let me see." And then he's like, "What are you?" And then she goes in front of him, but then they're kind of smushed against the wall. So the end
Like,
result of
stuck.
this is Joe basically rubbing her body all over the front of Dean's body, like they're in a club. That's the end result of this. And he says, should have cleaned the pipes." And Joe says, "What?" And Jane looks around like that was my outside voice with my inside thought. He says, I wish the pipes were cleaner." And he's gesturing to like the things that they're going around. But it's like Dean got excited and clearly wished that he had done something so that his excitement wouldn't have been that obvious while she's right on top of him. Okay. You can read between the lines. That was
It's funny.
amazing. I cannot get over it. I also will rewind that part and watch it a lot because, oh my god, I'm dead, you guys, but in the best way. I've been slain by how good this is. So Joe says, "Shut up, I can fit in there." And Dean says, "You're not gonna go in there by yourself," because she clearly, like, also she says shut up because she heard him and she knew what he meant. And she just says, "Shut up." I, they flirt so hard. um, so Dean says, "You're not going in there by yourself. We have the return of Hot Book Boyfriend." Okay. He's like, "You're not going alone." And I was just like, "Oh." Um, and Joe goes, "You've got a better idea?" And he just goes, "You?" And then she goes, "Uh-huh." Because he knows that she's about to say, sorry, she knows he's about to say something to her about, like, "You're not allowed," or whatever. And she's like, "Fuck you, buddy." And so she goes off to do her own thing. So she keeps going past him. And then, but because she has to squeeze past him, she has to force her way over his body. And he goes, "Oh," after she's walked past. And I just wrote triple X.
Yeah.
Oh, I am thriving. Okay. So then he calls her on the phone because, again, overprotective book boyfriend. She could not possibly be left alone to do these dangerous things without him having some kind of idea of where she is. Um, so he goes, "Where are you?" And she says, "On the north wall." And then she finds this air duct and starts climbing down it. And she says, "I'm heading down some kind of air duct." And he goes, "No, no, no, no. Stay up here." And she's like, "Look, we've got to find this girl. Don't we, okay? I'm fine." And
Also,
he's
I have a point. How does she manage to keep her phone on her? Because she has one of those. You know how when you have an old phone and you were trying to hold it hands free and you had it between your
Yep,
shoulder and your ear, and then she's
yep.
climbing down something. How? How does she not? I would have dropped that phone.
She has skills. Those are those, like, Spider-Man reflexes hunting skills she's
Yeah,
clearly inherited.
so good.
Yeah.
But also, it made me
Mhm.
miss having a flip phone.
Yeah. So Dean panics and, like, looks at the blueprints and is like, "Okay, I'm heading to you." So what he's done is he's found a route that his big, broad, muscular shoulders can fit through so that he can go and keep an eye on her. That's what just happened. Oh, guys, this episode is lava. Okay. So she comes out into another sort of similar space on a lower level and keeps going. And then we start seeing the icky goo. As Laura likes, what did you call it? Gross goo?
Rank goo, gross goo, yeah.
Rank goo. Yeah. So, and she says, "Oh God." And then Dean over the phone goes, "What is it? Joe? Joe?" And he's like, again, book boyfriend. Okay, he is not okay with the fact that she's not answering him. He's not okay at all, but it's about to get more because she then screams. So Dean runs down to the lower level trying to figure out where she is, shouting her name the way he shouts Sam's name, like it's Joe, but it's the way he would be like, Sam, Sammy.
Yeah.
Um, he's full on panicking. And then we have the hottest thing. Again, the floor is lava, you guys. Thirst traps everywhere. He picks up a fucking sledgehammer and runs after her. And then he just starts smashing this wall because he's figured out where he thinks she's going to be. And he goes full on, here's Johnny on this
Again,
wall. He
he loves to
also
hear
ran,
Johnny moment.
yeah, he also ran the fastest that I have ever seen him run after anyone to get to Joe. Okay. I wrote down that him with the sledgehammer is the ultimate thirst trap because it
Yeah, that
is.
was hot.
And he is shouting Joe like, you know, he will disassemble this entire building to get to her. That's a 10 out of 10. Again, he's in full psycho mode, and that was pure happiness. I only wish that the sledgehammer was an axe. But, like, honestly, it's so good. It's so, so good.
Yeah,
So
it
then
was.
he finds the phone, but she's not there, and then he screams her name. Again, hot. Okay. Amazing. And then he's panicking and he runs into Sam and he just goes, he's got Joe. And he is not okay. All right. And then he says, I wasn't with her. I left her alone. Damn it. Sorry, I started laughing because I saw my note says book boyfriend hot level. It's over 9,000. Oh, God. And Sam's like, hey, look, we'll find her, all right? It's okay. Because he's like, oh no, Big Brother is panicking. Um, And Dean goes, where? And Sam goes, inside the walls. And Dean says, we've been inside the walls all night. None of the other girls were there. She won't be either. He's like, he's not okay. So then we
No.
cut to the inside of the apartment, and Sam's trying to calm him down. He's like, look, we just got to take a beat and think about this. Maybe we got Holmes's MO wrong. And Dean says, yeah, well, we better freaking think fast. Because again, Dean is not all right. He wants Joe back immediately. So then the phone rings again and he answers it and he goes, yeah. And Ellen's voice says, you lied to me. She's there. And Dean
Uh-oh.
goes, Ellen. I actually wrote Laura's uh-oh in my notes, like word for word, Laura's uh-oh in my notes. So Ellen says, no, Ash told me everything. Man's a genius, but he folds like a cheap suit. Now you put my damn daughter on the phone. And we're like, oh. And Dean says, she's going to have to call you back. She's taking care of a feminine business.
Why did he say that? He could have said like, "Oh, she's just gone to the store."
He totally panicked. And the
Feminine
most
business.
ridiculous bullshit just came out of his mouth. Oh, God. Okay. So Ellen's like, yeah, right. Where is she? Where is she? And then he says, look, we'll get her back. And Ellen says, get her back? Back from what? And Dean says, the spirit we're hunting. It took her. And Ellen goes, oh my God. And then Dean says, she'll be okay, I promise. And Ellen says, you promise? That's not the first time I've heard that from a Winchester. Dean is
Ooh.
totally taken aback. Yeah, exactly. The plot thickens. Okay, she gets real thick. And Dean says, what? And Ellen says, if anything happens to her, then Dean says, again, it won't. I won't let it. Ellen, I'm sorry, I really am. But his I won't let it, book boyfriend. Okay. And then Ellen says, I'm taking the first flight out. I'll be there in a few hours. And then we see her hang up on her side. And then it cuts back to Dean, and Dean goes, damn it. And Sam's like, don't beat yourself up, Dean. There's nothing you could have done. And Dean's like, tell me you've got something. And because he's still panicking. There's no not panicking. It's
No.
so good. I'm going to watch this episode again immediately after we finish recording this. No word of a lie.
Sam's been being research Sam while he's on the phone,
Yeah.
so it's all good.
Yes. I wrote down Sam being highly intelligent. Laura, thirst trap.
Yeah.
And then they're talking. And Sam's saying, but there's one we haven't considered yet, the one in the basement. And then Dean says this building doesn't have a basement. And Sam says, you're right, it doesn't. But I just noticed this beneath the foundation. It looks like part of an old sewer system that hasn't been used for. Dean just rolls over him and says, let's go. He doesn't even let him finish.
Yeah.
They just run out. He's just charging out to save Joe. And I wrote, like, that's actually my note.
So then Jo wakes up in the sewer and she's looking around with a torch, and it looks like she's in like a really enclosed space, almost like when people get buried alive in a coffin and they're like scratching
Mhm.
the um
Yeah.
ceiling to get out, and because she looks up and there's like blood and scratches above her. And I was like, this is actually really scary.
Oh, yeah, it's terrifying, because she puts her hand up and she realizes that her hand is the exact same size as the last person who did it. Ugh.
Yeah. Yeah. And then she starts to cry, and I was just like, poor Jo.
Yeah, but then she pulls herself together because she's the final girl. So
Yeah.
she starts, and then she, like, takes some deep breaths, and then she notices that there's like, an eye slit where he's obviously left it so that he can look in at his victims.
Uh,
Ugh.
yuck.
Um, so she's looking through it and she can see another chamber. And this was interesting because this is like a series of jump scares. But some of them are like fake outs and some of them are serious ones. So basically she hears a noise, which is a jump scare. We all sort of startle and there's kind of like a musical sting, and she says hello. And then the other girl says, is anybody there? And Joe says, your name's Teresa. And Teresa says, yes. And Joe says, this won't make you feel better, but I'm here to rescue you.
I was like, thanks for that, Jo. Really helpful.
I just write down Joe is Dean, lol. That's the most Dean line ever. I think he actually says something like that in Scarecrow. Or no,
Yeah.
Sam. Sam says that to the dude in Scarecrow, doesn't he? Where they're both captioning. He's like, I'm here to save you. Oh god. Um, it's so funny. But what's really interesting at this part is there's all these different cuts, right? And we're cutting to these close-ups of Teresa, which end up being kind of like a secondary jump scare. And then she starts screaming, "Oh god, he's out there. He's going to kill us." Um, Joe, once again being a final girl, says, "No, he won't. We're getting out. My friends are looking for us. They'll find us." And then there's these footsteps, and we're not expecting it, and the camera pans, and we see like Holmes's spirit is walking, and it's so creepy. Again, that was a jump scare for me.
Yeah.
Blech, blech. And then Teresa starts screaming, "Oh God, it's him!" And Joe goes, "Be quiet." And I write down Joe, still in it to win it. And then his fucking dead hand shoots through the
Ugh.
eye slot thing to grab her, is like strangling her, which is his MO, so it tracks.
Yeah.
And I wrote down this was the best jump scare in this scene. It's so horrible.
Yeah, it was horrible.
And then
He
he's
like
banging her around while
yeah, he like
she's
rips out her hair as well.
yeah, she's screaming. Then he both caresses her hair and also rips some of it out.
Yeah, it's disgusting. And he's making like these horrible grunting noises the whole time, which is just
Yeah,
disgusting.
it's so disturbing. I rate down the horror level as like a 20 out of 10.
Yeah.
It's ugh. It's too much. It's just too much. And then it cuts that
He's
scene
really
there. So it just
scary. Yeah. Uh-huh. And then we cut to Sam and Dean, who have a metal detector now, apparently, and a shovel. And they're walking down the street outside, and they're using the metal detector to find the entrance to the sewer. And I just went, how did this work? They're in a city. Like, there would have been so many metal things that they went past on the way to that. I love this show, but it's so funny sometimes. Um, but anyway, they managed to find it, and then they start digging and open the door and then climb down.
yeah. So then we cut to Joe, who's working on kicking her way out. Cause again, she's a final girl. I wrote down final girl trademark, the little trademark logo. Um, and she's working really hard at it, and then she stops to take a breather. And then fucking Holmes.
Oh, his mouth. I nearly threw
There's
up at this bit.
right, the scraggly bearded mouth right at the
Ew.
opening, and then he says, "You're so pretty, so beautiful."
Ugh.
And that exact it's so creepy. This actor is terrifying. He's
It's
so creepy.
scary and disgusting at the same time.
Yeah, and she screams, "Go to hell," because she's a badass. And then he reaches his very dead hand. The effects on this are great because it looks like he's been rotting in the ground for a long fucking time.
Yeah.
Through
It
the
kind of looks like
opening,
he's in grayscale a bit, doesn't it?
yeah, ugh. And then he starts fondling her, Well, like
Uh,
demon muttering. So he strokes his hand down her body from her head down towards like her arm and her chest. Meanwhile, Joe is holding her dad's knife and stabs him. He screams and evaporates, and she smiles maniacally because she's Dean's soulmate. And she says, "How do you like that?"
there was like a
Pure
little
iron, you creepy son of a bitch. And I was just like, yes.
there was like a little magical effect or something here, like embers or something.
Yeah, he bursts into ashes when she does that.
Yeah, that was quite cool.
Yeah, I fucking loved it.
His fingernails made me feel sick though.
Oh god, it was horrible. They were, like, black and fucked up. Again,
Like
like,
ragged, yeah.
they really made him look like he'd been desiccating underground for a really long time, just rotting. It
Yeah.
was disgusting. They did a great job. It's horrifying. Don't eat food and watch this part of the episode because it's a mistake.
No. 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 The next bit made me feel really claustrophobic.
The next bit made
Because
me feel really hot because Dean is commando crawling to Joe with a steely expression on his face, and I was like, "Oh lord."
I was focusing more on them being in an enclosed space because that pipe looks so narrow. They can only just fit through.
Yeah, I'm not really like I don't like the sensation of being trapped, but I'm not exactly claustrophobic, so it didn't hit me. What hit me was
No.
Dean's gorgeous, gorgeous face, looking super determined to crawl through this fucking tiny space to get to Joe. Like he is gonna break down this building to get to Joe, and oh, that's hot. That's so
Yeah.
hot. Um,
Mhm.
so then we cut to Joe, and she's in the dark with this knife, and she's super wary. And Teresa says, "Is he gone?" And she says, "I don't know. And then Holmes grabs her from nowhere and forces her to drop the knife. And then he's covering her face with his rank, disgusting dead hand. And he's going, shh.
Ugh.
It's
I was like,
horrible.
is he trying to like chloroform her here, or is he just shushing her?
That's what I thought because Dean
Yeah.
kept saying that he smelled chloroform. And we were keep going, how do you know? How do you know, Dean? Anyway, so he covers her face and he goes, shh. And then the next thing you hear is, hey, and it's Dean.
That was hot.
And I wrote thirst trap, but inside of a heart. And it's like, because this is amazing. And then he shoots Holmes, who fucking rockets back from the blast of this, the force of it screaming. Um, and I was like, in my opinion, this is like the strength of Dean, like his determination to save Joe, because there's no reason why this shotgun blast should propel this horrible demonic dude. The way, like, it looks like he's on a wire and they just rocket him backwards.
Yeah.
It's really great and really satisfying and also kind of scary and awesome. It's everything. And then Joe goes, "I'm here." And there are these really sexy rock drums as Dean is prying the cage apart to save her. Like he has like this fucking crowbar and the muscles are heaving as he is breaking down this, and it's so cool and so primal. Meanwhile, Sam is disgusted by the horrors.
I wrote I wrote a bit about it being comical that he goes flying backwards into the hole in the wall. And then I just put then Project Rescue Joe is in full swing and it's hot.
It is so hot. So hot. So poor Sam, on the other hand, keeps finding like horrible, rotten women who are dead and have been dead for a really long time. While he's looking for Teresa, and then eventually he finds Teresa. And he's all rescue Sam, which is also hot, and he says, "We're gonna get
Yeah.
you out of here, all right?" Um, and Dean says, "Sam," and he hands one of the pry bars, like the pieces of rebar they're using to break the women out, to Sam. And he says, "Hang on." And then he opens the compartment and lets Joe out and says, "Are you all right?" And she says, "Been better. Let's get the hell out of here before he comes back." And Dean says, "Actually, I don't think you're leaving here just yet." And Joe says, "What?" And Dean says, "Remember when I said you being bait was a bad plan? Now it's kind of the only one we got."
I
And
have to
he,
say though, my notes here are funny because I wrote when Joe gets out, she looks all dishevelled. I mean, her hair is a right state, bless her. And Dean's like, "Yeah, we're not leaving yet."
yeah, she's so done. And he's just like, "I'm sorry, but no, we're staying." She's like, "What?
Poor girl.
What do you mean?" Yeah, it's great. So Sam, by the way, has an armful of Teresa, who he is
An
like,
armful.
he's shrugging in the background. I have to give credit to Wiki Notes. Supernatural Wiki in their transcript says he turns to Sam, who has an armful of terrified Teresa. He shrugs. My notes say that he has Teresa in his arms and he looks super hot and heroic as he is like human shielding her and comforting her while also communicating silently to Dean. But like the combo of the two is perfection. So then we cut to later where Joe is bait sitting alone in the middle of the chamber and she has her arms wrapped around her legs. But
It looks
she
like she's practicing some breathing techniques.
yeah, it's this interesting mix where I feel like she's pretending to be more scared than she is because she's also holding her knife. So she's like armed with something that we know will fuck him up and she's Joe. Okay. So Holmes appears behind her and Dean goes, now. And Joe fucking combat rolls out of the way. And then him and Sam shoot this like epic salt trap situation that they've rigged up. So there's a
Yeah.
canvas. And then we realize as the camera zooms out during the fight scene that they've put salt all around this entire chamber. So the moment that they shoot it down, he realizes he's trapped and he totally panics and starts screaming and it's awesome. And I wrote, "Oh hell yeah!" in my notes.
I
Huge.
I wrote, apparently salt is really scary based on his reaction at being surrounded by it. Because he's like screaming.
Well, the thing is like he's acting the way that we know his victims must have behaved. Like this is
Yeah.
the perfect revenge. It is delicious because
Yeah.
we're watching him go through the intense suffering and losing his mind, and actually there's justice happening. It's so satisfying. So satisfying. I'm watching this episode again straight away, you guys. Like immediately afterwards, I'm watching it again.
I did also write that you imagine if he's just screaming now for eternity and people can hear him at night, that would be scary.
I like to think that he's screaming for eternity. I hope people don't hear him because I don't want them to be scared. But like, I love the idea of him just screaming down there for eternity because that's definitely what's happening. It's great.
Yeah.
So Joe is having this conversation with Sam outside the entrance of the sewers, and Sam saying, "So this job is glamorous as you thought it would be?" And Joe says, "Well, except for the pee your pants terror, yeah, sure. But that Teresa girl is going to have a life because of us. It's worth it, isn't it?" And Sam looks at her and he goes, "Yeah, yeah, it is." And there's just it's like cool. It's a very cool moment between the two of them. And I love
Yeah.
Sam so much in this moment. Like he's such a good person. I love the way he always validates her. So Joe says, "Hey, what if somebody finds that sewer down there or a storm washes the salt away?" And Sam says, "Both very fine points, which is why we're waiting here." Because again, like it's just like it's the way he immediately takes her in and makes her part of the family. Sam is
Yeah.
everything. I love it. So Joe says, "For what?" And then there's this loud beeping as this huge cement truck backs up. And Dean's driving it. We hear this like really cool rock music. You see his face in the side view of the mirror. It's very well shot. I loved it. And Sam goes for that. And then he waves at him where to stop the truck. And Dean gets out of the cab and he and Sam are setting the cement mixer up like right over the entrance of it. And Joe's impressed and she goes, "You ripped off a cement truck?" And Dean goes, "I'll give it back." But you can tell he says it in this way that's like, "You're impressed and I'm impressive." It's so good. And they seal it off in concrete. And then Dean says, "Well, that ought to keep him down there till hell freezes over." And then he gives us the Dean smirk.
Hot Dean smack.
And I wrote fire in all capital letters.
Then we have the most awkward car ride in the history of the world ever. So it cuts to them
Fact.
all in the car and no one is talking. And we can see that Dean is driving and Joe and Sam are in the back. And I'm like, so if Sam's in the back, who's in the front? And then we see that Ellen is there and she is so mad. She's so mad.
Yeah, she's
Um,
fucking furious.
and then Dean turns to Ray. This is my favourite bit of the whole episode. Dean
Yeah.
turns the radio on to break the silence, and Cold as Ice by Foreigner plays, and I literally was
Yeah,
laughing out loud.
it's amazing. Their attention to musical detail is unmatched. It's unparalleled.
It's so funny. And then Ellen turns it off, and Sam and Joe exchange glances, which also cracked me up because it's like they're like naughty kids who've been caught by their parents
Yeah,
doing something bad.
yeah, yeah.
And then Dee's just like, "This is going to be a long drive."
Yeah. So good.
It's such a good scene.
Yeah.
So then they're back at the roadhouse, and Ellen is dragging Joe inside, and Sam and Dean are following. And Dean tries to take the blame, and he apologizes for lying and says Joe did a good job, and her dad would be proud. And that's the end of the episode, according to Joy.
This is where it is. He says, he looks at Ellen deep in the eyes and he says, Ellen, this is my fault, okay? Which, like, firstly, it's not his fault, but he's trying to cover
No.
for his girl. Hot. And then, because he doesn't snitch on her. So he says, okay, I lied to you and I'm sorry, but Joe did a good job out there and I think her dad would be proud. And Dean says this with the most soulful expression that he has ever had on his face in his life. And that's where the episode ends. Good day.
Well, unfortunately, there's still a little bit more. Um, so yeah, he's apologizing and says her dad will be proud, and Ellen's like, "Don't you dare say that, not you." And this is where I was thinking, okay, something else is definitely going on here. She's not just upset because Joe ran off to hunt and lied to
Yeah.
her. And then she says she wants to talk to Joe alone. So Sam and Dean leave. And then we don't see exactly what she tells Joe, but then we know from what Joe says later that Ellen's told Joe that John was with her dad when he died. So Joe goes outside and gets really annoyed with Dean because of it. And she says that John had screwed up and got her dad killed. And I just wrote, bloody John, still ruining things even though he's dead.
Yes.
Because he is still ruining everything.
Yep. Yep. And that's the end of the episode.
Yeah. I just summed it up briefly, but yeah, that's all we need to know.
End of episode games.
Yeah. Okay, villain hot or not? I think I know the answer.
Not hot, all capital letters, emphasis. Like 16 exclamation points, the end.
All right, no, he's rank.
Bleach. Bleach everything.
Episode scare rating.
Ooh. I gave it a 9.
Yeah,
Because
I'd give it
also,
a 9
I
as
do
well.
not like to watch this episode in the dark. I'm going to in a minute, but I don't like it. It's scary.
Yeah, and I gave it a 9 as well because it's got some pretty scary moments.
It's only not a 10 because of the level of hotness of Dean being book boyfriend.
Favorite quote.
Should have cleaned the pipes. It's filthy and I live for it.
Okay, I've got two as usual because I always cheat at
Oh,
my own
what are
game.
yours?
Morning
You do.
Princess,
I love that one. Yep. That's a whole
and
thing.
you're as cold as ice.
I love that. Which one are you picking? I have a
um,
prediction.
well, I suppose I'm gonna have to go with Morning Princess because that's actually a quote.
Yes. I knew it. What's the next
um,
category?
Best thirst trap.
Dean shouting Joe and going full Stephen King and like tearing the building apart to get to her. I'm gonna go watch it again. I'm gonna go
Yeah,
watch it again.
I did have that bit written down, so I've gone with a slightly different one, which is when we hear Dean shout, "Hey!" and then
Oh god, yeah.
blasts him with a shotgun.
Always,
It
yes.
it could have also been any research sound moment because there was quite a few of those.
Yeah. I did conclude with this episode that while I do think that Sam is super hot, actually, when Nick and him were the same age, they actually kind of weirdly look like each other. But I am such a Dean girl. This episode just pulled me all the way back, Team Dean. Like, they're both hot. But Dean.
Did you have an MVP? I wasn't really
I
sure.
put that it's Joe/Dean.
Mm. Yeah, I think I thought Joe to start with, but then I don't know, it's like a mixture. Yeah, it's like a mixture of people.
Yeah. Everybody did important and key stuff, so it's actually really hard. I just said Joe/Dean because Joe, it's her case. She does all the research.
Yeah.
She solves a lot of the problems. All the other problem solving is kind of off of the back of her original research, or like they're realizing things, but they're realizing things that she gave them the key points to. And then also she has to be the bait. So
Mhm.
she's how they catch him. So I was like, she's
Yeah.
probably the MVP. But then without Dean being like fucking book boyfriend and hot as fuck, barreling through things to get to her and like screaming and panicking about how they have to save her immediately. God, I love it so much. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think honestly, I give him the points for hotness. I do think he came up with some key parts of the plan. Like I expect that he came up with the salt trap um,
Yeah.
and stuff because I see that being his revenge and taking the ghost apart for what he did to Joe and taking Joe away from him because we all know that Dean is kind of psychopathic and would want to like out psycho this guy and torment him. So like that's my and then also the sealing him in concrete.
Mhm.
So that's why Joe/Dean.
Yeah. Okay, agree with that. We didn't have a motel, but we had an apartment.
Teresa's apartment, I would live there. Barring like homicidal ghost grossness. I really liked it. I thought it was cool. I like her kitchen.
I just felt they were a bit too new looking for me, and also I wouldn't want to stay somewhere with so much ectoplasm and creepy old man hands in the wall.
Yeah. Solid. Solid.
Overall, it was a really, really fun episode, and it's probably my favourite so far out of all of them.
It was incredibly fun. It is my favorite episode, full stop. This is the best episode of Supernatural. I will fight a bitch. Um, I'm
It's
not
definitely
taking
my
it back.
favourite so far in
Yeah,
season 2.
I love it so much. I stand by that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, well, I think that's it then, isn't it?
Mhm. Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, please rate, review, and subscribe. We would be very grateful. And if you know someone who would enjoy it, please share.
You can find us on Instagram at the Witches of Letters podcast, or you can email us at thewitchesofletters@gmail.com.
Until next time, stay safe out there, have each other's backs, and always keep fighting.